Chapter 8, Unmasked. Ooh, are we gonna find out who is behind the hockey mask ghost? I hope so. Okay, day before Samhain. Ugh, there's nothing in these stupid books about fairy multiple personalities. I flopped back on the sofa, rubbing my face. We were back at the studying. Allie was with us since they got the day before Samhain off. And Spencer joined us too, as he'd been planning. We were alternating between more research and answering his questions. And he, as expected, had a lot. He asked things I hadn't thought to ask, so it was kind of interesting listening to Allie answer. He was also complaining. A lot. As he does.
How can you find anything in these books anyway? Not one of them has a proper index. It's impossible to find anything useful.
Yes, I know. Annoying, isn't it? That's what I'd been saying for 2 weeks. He flipped back to something he had been reading earlier.
What about this bit? About the forgetful people.
Forgetful people?
Apparently another word for fairies. Or it might be a specific type of fairy. It's really hard to work out the exact context. Anyway, it says that at one time there was a belief that the human soul was a tiny creature living within the body. And at night it would leave the body. What it experienced came back to the body as dreams. There's also something about a type of fae called Mara that are thought to be the souls of children who leave their bodies at night and play tricks on people.
I've read about the Mara before, but I didn't really write anything down about them. It doesn't seem to apply. If it was just my soul leaving my body at night, then wouldn't my body be staying in bed rather than sleepwalking?
Yeah, that doesn't explain why your body is moving around.
Ugh, I hate this. It feels like we're on the right track somehow, but really far away at the same time.
What about this particular changeling variation? It says mothers try to drown their children to get the fairy out of them. It sounds almost like possession. Can fairies possess people? Is that a thing?
William started at that. I glanced his way where he was staring down at the book in front of him with his brow furrowed. Hopefully it was because of the word possess and not because Spencer was vividly imagining drowning Nora at this exact moment. What's wrong?
I was thinking something along those lines as well, actually.
Really? I literally had not considered it at all.
I don't know that much about fairies, so I could be really far off. But I do know there's an overlap between fairies, spirits, and ghosts. Fairies overlap with nearly every other cryptic species, actually. But they have particularly strong associations with the dead.
Is that why I'm able to date every other cryptic species in this club? Thoughts? Okay. Nora, were you on the same thought train, or were you thinking of something else? Nora was probably thinking of something else. Let's see. It might be this. Can't remember if I think I did read that, though. Hold on. I feel like I didn't read that, but I mean, not in this route, but before. Oy. Man, my brain is not remembering. Did we really unlock everything? No. Okay, I'm like, whoa, wait. Let's see, this is all ghosts and stuff. Oh boy. Oh no. Oh boy. Oh no. Oh boy. What am I looking for? Okay, I don't think it's any of that. It's definitely not that. It's not sentinels. Is it this? Other realms? No, I don't think so. Definitely not liminal space, not psychometry, not espers. Not that kind of glamour. Not selkies, brownies. Not brownie boggarts. Not kelpies. Might be that? Not this. Might be this? Gosh, I am so sorry. I just cannot figure out. Can I go? Okay. So if I went back here, would the journal not be updated? Can I cheat that way? Let's see. Okay, it's after the plants. I can cheat that way. Awesome. I'm gonna cheatsy doodle this. Okay, after the plants. After the plants. There we go. Because many fairies are thought to live underground, they have a strong association with the dead and the underworld. There are actually a lot of similarities, such as some stories that say if you eat the food of fairy, you're doomed to stay there, just as if you eat the food of the underworld, you meet the same fate. Some people think even all ghosts and spirits are fairies, or the other way around. That's the key. I was like, what does the underground and food have to do with it? It was the last sentence. No wonder I couldn't find it. Hooray! Cheating for the win.
Based on what I've read so far, there are many non-corporeal fairies. If one attached itself to you, it could be responsible for what you're experiencing.
Wouldn't you be able to see it, though? And what about the change in appearance, though?
I can't see most fairies, just as there are ghosts you can't see.
And all fairies do possess the ability to use glamour.
That's true. I lean my arms on the coffee table.
Why don't we go over it all again?
Because every time we do, it makes me want to throw something. He gave me an exasperated look and apparently elected to ignore my wishes.
5 years ago, after you went missing, I stumbled on you with a group of other fairies. While you were in your other form, which means that whatever is going on with you happened at the age of 12 or earlier. And when I saw you, the fairies freaked out and chased me, and ended up stealing the sight in my right eye before I could get away.
Which apparently isn't an uncommon response when fairies encounter a human who can see them.
You have no memories of those events, but continue to leave the house at night occasionally for the next few years, always returning before dawn.
With no memory of that either, thank you very much. And when we came here, the leaving the house escalated, but I started being able to wake myself in the middle of it. Usually with a distinct feeling of having to find something, to go somewhere, or to get home. I mulled that over for a moment and picked up one of the books Spencer had set aside earlier. I can't help but feel we're overcomplicating this to spare my feelings. Coming up with all these theories about possession or what have you. What if something much simpler is going on? What if what happened was this? I was born Fae and became a changeling. A replacement for a human child that was taken away. A replacement for the real Nora Lewis. Ugh. I hated saying those words, but we couldn't keep ignoring that possibility. What if all these blackouts are me unconsciously remembering who and what I am, and I'm just trying to get back home to Fairy? Look, I'm not exactly thrilled with the idea that I'm not me. Actually, it's pretty terrifying. Even more so because that's what Spencer has been saying this whole time. And it was initially my biggest fear when I joined the club. But I can't ignore the possibility and pass up possible answers because I don't like them. That doesn't help anyone.
If that's the case, then what happens to babies stolen by fairies?
They're usually raised in Fairy, though the books are vague as to why exactly. They list anything from use as breeding stock to payments to hell as reasons.
I think we may have hit a dead end on this. There are way too many options on the table here. Possession, wandering souls, changelings.
Time to go to the murder.
And we can't ignore the possibility that none of those is the issue and it's something else entirely. Maybe we should call in an expert.
The murder. Fairy expert? William had actually suggested the murder previously, though that hadn't worked out with the timing. And now there was no way for us to get there safely. At least not until Monday or Tuesday at the earliest. Do they do house calls? Which would mean another entire weekend of no answers.
We could ask Brenna, or maybe Ewan. We might be able to get a hold of them this weekend.
I shot him a grateful look. I was certain I was projecting tidal waves of angst his way. Poor guy.
Ewan would probably be more willing to talk, but given that he was raised human, I don't know how much help he'll be. I don't think his father's really told him much about fairy society.
Brenna? Really?
That black-haired girl that jumps on people from the top of the bleachers.
I was just thinking the other day that, man, Brenna has been chillin' somewhere all quiet-like for a couple of roots now.
She's Fae. Not a pleasant one, really. But Fae nonetheless. And she may be our only potential source of information.
Anyone know her number?
I don't think she has a phone, but Elliot probably knows how to get in touch with her.
Okay, Elliot, now it's your turn to go and throw a coat over her and drag her into the woods, because I can't this time. Bleh.
Will Brenna really help, though?
She did rescue me from that Spriggan.
That's true.
Come to think of it, when I encountered that Spriggan, the first thing it said to me was, "You're back," as if it recognized me.
That's right. I remember you saying that. At the time, I just shrugged it off as something random a wild Fae was saying.
Then it tried to drag me away.
Brenna was the one that intervened there. It definitely might be good to talk to her as our next step.
Maybe.
Look, why don't Spencer and I go get some lunch for everyone? I think we could all use a break. I'll bring you some coffee?
Thanks. She stood and stretched.
We'll figure it out, don't worry.
If you say so.
There have to be answers somewhere. Maybe that guy, Velos or whatever. Maybe he has some thoughts.
I haven't seen him at all today. Guess either.
They're both out in the field. For most of today. They asked me to keep an eye on things here. It's been quiet, and they lost track of that drudge. With overflow heading toward its peak, they're worried about not knowing where it is.
Well, that's reassuring.
It's going to be fine, don't worry.
You keep saying that. I have yet to see any signs of this fineness. Also, with you guys hanging out with William the last couple days, you're not gonna start lighting up like a Christmas tree either, are you? Be careful out there, guys.
Hey, you're alive and in a safe place impervious to attack. It's totally fine.
Allie, saying it that way is literally tempting the universe to prove you wrong.
It'll be fine.
Can we go now?
Come on, I'll show you how to get to the murder from here. You're going to love this.
The two of them left, and I couldn't help but feel a little frustrated I was unable to go along. I leaned back against the sofa, rubbing my eyes. Look, it's a double date. They're going off on their separate part of the double date, and you're on your separate part of the double date. Then you'll reconvene for lunch. It's fine.
I know it's frustrating right now. I'm sure we'll find the answers you're looking for, though.
I'm starting to feel like it may not matter which of these possibilities is true. No matter what, they all end with the revelation of me not being me.
Nora, nothing we uncover will change who you are.
It'll change my understanding of who I am. When your entire sense of self shifts, it's more or less the same thing as becoming someone else. I know how Spencer felt all these years. Living with someone and having no idea who they are. Except I feel like I'm living in the same body as someone I don't even know. I sighed again. If I could just remember what happened back then. I looked up at him. Can you do that thing? That psychometry thing you were doing for Guess?
On you. It doesn't really work like that. If I could go to the location where it happened, I might be able to see what took place. But using psychometry on people is a bit... It doesn't work well.
Why not?
There's too much to sift through to try to find the right thing. People are infinitely more complex than a place or an object.
I see. I looked back down at my journal, reading over the previous notes. This needle in a haystack approach was really starting to wear on me already, and we were only 2 weeks in. William turned toward me suddenly, his expression serious. I looked up at him curiously.
Maybe I can help in a different way.
What way?
I could... Look. I mean... I can check your thoughts to see if we can find those memories you've lost.
You mean... using telepathy? He nodded.
It's not the same as using psychometry, since we'd be looking through your real memories. And... I'm much more adept with telepathy, so I promise it's safe.
I wasn't worried about that at all.
If you don't want to, I understand.
I trust you, Boo. Let's do it. I trust you. Let's do it.
Just... like that?
Is there anything else?
I just thought you'd ask how it works.
I figured you'd explain it before we started. But if you were thinking I'd be worried about it, I'm not. Like I said, I trust you. He smiled slightly.
I'm glad. So... in this case, I'm going to try to act as a guide through your own memories. Normally, you can't see the contents of your mind the way I can. For me, it's like a roadmap with different trails leading to different thoughts and memories and emotions. But you're so used to hearing all those internal voices at once that you can't see the path clearly the way I can. So that's my function, to let you see your mind as if you're looking at it from the outside the way I do.
So in the end, the one who's going to locate the lost memories is me.
You know your mind better than anyone else. If I tried to look myself, I'd have to wander around, hoping to find the right trail. When you can see it from the outside, you should be able to tell exactly where to go.
But what about the memory seal?
That seems to only affect your memories of the Fairy Hill. We may be able to see and undo that, too. But even if we can't, the memories of your disappearances and sleepwalking don't seem to actually be sealed. They're just not immediately accessible. As long as we can find them in the first place, you should be able to remember them normally after that.
Okay, let's do this. If I'm going to be stuck here for the next few days, I might as well make progress on at least one front while I'm here.
If you want to stop at any point, just say so. It's okay if you don't like it, or if it's overwhelming. It's okay to say no.
Got it. He took a breath and set trembling hands at the sides of my head. Our eyes met briefly, and I set my hands over his. Your thoughts to my thoughts to your thoughts. Thank you for helping me with this. For just being here. I mean, I know you can't leave, so you have to be here, but you... He smiled slightly.
I know what you mean.
He exhaled slowly and closed his eyes. I studied his face for a moment. His eyes were half obscured by his shaggy hair, as always, but he had such a gentle look on his face. Man, he has such a great complexion. Girl, your inner cheeseroo showing. His lips trembled slightly and a hint of color crept to his cheeks. You're distracting him. I realize he probably heard that. Embarrassed, I quickly closed my own eyes and tried to focus on something other than his hands against my face or the faint feeling of his breath. I wasn't entirely sure what to expect with this. And then I was alone. There was a black expanse before me and only emptiness on all sides. I couldn't feel anything. Not my feet against the floor, nor my back against the sofa, nor William's hands against my face. Hello? This wasn't what I'd been expecting at all. There was nothing reminiscent of a map or paths or reflections. It was just me and nothing. I'm sure I could make some jokes here about my head being empty. But I wasn't sure this was a laughing matter. And somehow it was familiar. It feels like sleepwalking. That's what this feels like. Except I didn't have the weird sensation of knowing my body was moving when I wasn't controlling it. William? I tried to reach out with my mind or something, but I really didn't know how. I really hoped that in the real world, Rule didn't come out and freak out. Because that would be unfortunate. I hadn't expected this whole thing to feel like I'd been shoved in a sensory deprivation chamber or into some sort of strange, semi-lucid dream. Is this really what my mind looks like from the outside? Because I didn't think I was going to find my way to any wayward memories like this.
Nora Lewis.
I whirled around, or at least I had the thought of whirling around. I was desperately trying to scan the darkness for any signs of being somewhere other than nowhere, but that was kind of hard to do when I couldn't even feel my eyes. William?
Nora.
Rule? Who are you? I didn't know why I said that. To be honest, there shouldn't be anyone else in my head but me. Well, and William at the moment. But that voice was mine. Sort of. And I wasn't the one using it at the moment. Unless this was some weird psychic version of me talking to myself. Which I couldn't really deny I might actually do something like that. But this didn't feel like that. There was no way to say it other than it felt like someone else was with me. Here. In my own head. And that was never a good sign.
Nora. Lewis.
Yeah, I'm here. I mean, this is my head. So, the real question is, who are you and why are you here? The sound of raspy laughter rustled around me in a decidedly spooky way.
I'm not in your head. You're in mine.
What the heck did that mean? In the darkness, I thought I could make something out. A figure. William? No, that wasn't him. Definitely not. I tried to move toward it, but it was pretty hard when I couldn't exactly feel my body. Because I was in my own head, so yeah, just thinking about how that worked kind of hurt my brain a little, so I gave up. Whoa. Hi, you're so close. So beautiful. Regardless, the figure became clearer. White hair, black horns, strange torn clothes. Who are you? She turned to face me, and my breath caught in my throat even though I expected it. That same familiar face. The same one Spencer said he'd encountered 5 years ago. The same one I'd drawn for so long. I knew that face so well. Those crystal blue eyes, the sooty eyebrows, and black curved horns. We were standing face to face for the first time. Are you me? Oh. That's not what you want to see.
I was never you.
Splitting pain shot through my entire body and felt like everything was spiraling away from me at light speed. Images and sounds cut through the dark, a kaleidoscope of memories moving too fast to comprehend.
Nora!
A familiar voice cut through the chaos like a beacon of light. It latched on to me, and we were back in the club room, though I guess we never really left it. The chaos and pain were gone. She was gone. And there was just William. The feeling of him filled my mind, seeped through every pore, just like the day he'd saved me on the stairs. Except even more. He drew me into a tight hug, and I clung to him as I tried to wrap my mind around what had just happened.
It's okay. It's okay. I'm sorry. I wasn't prepared for that. It's my fault. I'm sorry. I nearly lost you.
I didn't really know what that meant. Given the other things I'd gone through recently, that hadn't been as frightening. Just a little weird. You nearly lost me. Maybe I should have asked some questions. I'm okay. William pulled back and touched my face again, wiping away tears. I hadn't even realized I'd been crying.
Are you sure?
The feeling of him started to fade from my mind, and the emptiness left behind felt a little lonely. Before I realized what I was doing, I leaned into him as if to get the feeling back. I think I remembered some things. A lot of things, actually. It's a lot of information to suddenly remember.
Do you know what happened just now?
I shook my head. I didn't. Really. But that woman. Rule. I knew that was her name. I still wasn't sure how I knew, though. Sorting through all the new memories was a little disorienting. William surprised me by pulling me even closer. He was silent for a long time. I could hear the faint thud of his heartbeat through his scarf.
It wasn't your mind we ended up in.
I pulled back and looked up at him questioningly. Not my mind? His face was troubled. Whose mind were we in? No. I know whose mind we were in. I just don't know how that's possible.
Who is she?
A fairy. Rule. I think I met her once. A long time ago. William looked away, chewing his lower lip.
Do you know that isn't your body?
I wished I could be surprised and horrified by that, but somehow it just made sense. If it wasn't my mind, then it couldn't really be my body. And that in itself was kind of horrifying. Well, I can't say why, but I did kind of get that feeling just now. Though, it kind of doesn't make sense, does it? If it's not my body, then why am I in it?
I'm not sure. But I realized it as soon as I fully entered your mind. Or rather, when I tried to enter your mind and ended up somewhere else. With someone else. With her, I guess. She's more anchored to that body than you are. I could tell when I was in her mind.
Anchored? I don't understand. He was silent for a moment, as if thinking about how to explain.
I think that souls are the purest form of existence. We always think of ourselves in terms of bodies, the part that we can see and hear and feel. But all that we are, all that we know, our memories, our feelings, these things reside in each person's soul. A body is just a physical thing that carries our soul from place to place, a vessel or a container. So all physical beings are just souls attached or anchored to a specific body. Does that make sense?
I think so. But you're saying I'm not attached to this body? But she is. So, rather than me being possessed, I'm the one doing the possessing? Wait! Am I a ghost? 'Cause that would be really awkward.
No, I don't think that's it either. You don't feel like that. Ghost auras are colorless. And you aren't like that. And cryptics don't usually mix well with each other anyway. Which is why vampires infect humans, but they can't usually infect werewolves or fae. And ghosts possess humans, but not usually other cryptics. Even if you had passed away and become a ghost, I don't think you'd have been able to easily possess a fae. Much less stay in control for so long. There are always exceptions to every rule, but it doesn't seem right.
I feel like this should be a big revelation, but instead it's just kind of annoying.
It's okay to be upset by something like this.
Well, rather than being upset, I guess I've been feeling it for a while. Longer than I want to admit. So even though this is all confusing, at the same time, I guess I'm not surprised. I chewed my lip as I picked at the edge of my sleeve. In the end, if I go to pieces now, I'll never be able to progress. So I have to just keep thinking logically. He reached for me and gently took my face in his hands. For a moment I felt it was strange how easily he reached out to me now compared to how he was when we first met.
It's not good to keep things bottled up. You've been through a lot in the last few days.
It's hard to freak out when things feel so surreal. Besides, I have so many people around me to help. Allie, even Spencer. I covered his hands with my own. You. And you're going through a lot as well. You haven't complained even once. William's thumb moved gently across my cheek.
What I'm going through doesn't feel all that bad. Not with you here. But you don't always have to force yourself to be strong. Not in front of me.
I'm not forcing it. I'll definitely go to pieces later when all this sinks in. Just promise me you'll be there to comfort me? He turned a little red, smiling slightly. And, you know, that's a pretty big thing. Girl doesn't go to pieces in front of anybody for nothing. Not usually. So, and she's like, hey, I'm gonna break down later. Could you give me a hug? I would appreciate.
Yes, I will be.
What are you two talking about?
Nothing. We both jumped and moved away from each other at lightning speed. Allie was standing in the door watching us with an amused smile. Where's Spencer?
Oh, Corvin was working today. Spencer was apprehended by our charming club president.
Well, rip Spencer. Oh dear.
Yeah, it was pretty funny, frankly. Corvin wanted to give him a tour of the cafe, of the courtyard, take him down to meet Ewan's parents at the bakery.
Corvin never took me to meet Ewan's parents at the bakery. Corvin, what gives? Alright, thank you, Nora. Hey, even I didn't get to meet Ewan's parents.
I'm pretty sure Corvin's afraid of you, to be honest.
I mean, that checks out. In Corvin's friendship route, him and Spencer were the bestest of friends, so... Which I'm still not quite sure how that worked, but I guess it's a thing that happens all the time. Spencer's way scarier than I am.
I actually think he just wanted an excuse to ditch work.
That seems way more reasonable.
Anyway, I think Spencer will find a way to escape soon, so he'll be back. probably.
Does he know how to get back here? She shot me a grin.
So, what was going on while I was away?
Found out I'm a soul separate from this body I'm in. This body being Rule, who is a fae, and I'm kind of possessing her body. But yeah, what's for lunch to get me my coffee and sandwich? I could use it. Well, things. I looked away, completely unsure how to explain anything that had just happened. Without totally freaking her out, anyway.
Oh my god, seriously? What the heck did you two do? You totally did something! In the 10 minutes I was gone, you two absolutely did something terrible, didn't you?
Yeah, didn't think she was going to let that go. It wasn't terrible, really. She glared at me, that glare that said she was absolutely not letting me get out of explaining everything to her.
What did you do?
Well, William took a little peek inside my head in the hopes of locating a few lost memories. Allie face-palmed dramatically.
Just like that? Without any supervision? Without consulting anyone else?
Hey, it's my head. I don't have to ask anyone's permission to look for my own memories.
You are such a pain. And William, you really need to start saying no to her.
It was actually my idea.
Oh god, her recklessness is spreading.
I'm not reckless.
You are definitely reckless. That was a completely reckless thing to do. That was the very definition of recklessness.
How many times are you going to say the word reckless?
As many as it takes. Tell me you at least learned something useful.
Well, I did remember a lot of stuff. Also, this isn't my body, and there's really someone else in here.
What?
Surprise!
Whoa. Wait, what?
That is true. Nora seems to be in someone else's body. A fairy's to be exact.
Also, I think I know who sealed those memories. And why.
About the fairy hill?
It's still a bit fuzzy, but I know Spencer went inside it, and was missing for several days until I went in after him.
So you remembered that?
You knew?
Well, I knew Spencer was missing. I mean, I was there for it. We were pretty little, but I still remember it. I obviously didn't know it was because he went inside a fairy hill. That was long before I knew those things were real.
How on earth did this stay hidden from us even after all these years? You knew about it. Mom and Dad clearly do.
Well, after the whole thing was over, neither of you seemed to remember it at all. You know how that stuff goes. Everyone assumes the two of you blocked it out or something. It's easy to hide stuff like that from kids. You guys weren't exactly checking the news. No one talked about it around you. I was specifically forbidden to mention it.
How did it never come up 5 years ago?
Your parents really shielded you guys from a lot back then. More than you realize.
Man, they must have thought we were cursed. First Spencer, then me. Twice.
If Spencer went in the hill, how did you get him back?
I think I made a deal with them because they wouldn't let him go otherwise.
With the fairies? What kind of deal?
Well, No. I'm pretty sure I offered to take his place. But if that's what happened, why am I still here? Why did they never actually make me take his place?
Didn't they?
You think they stole just my body? Why would they want my body? That's weird, even for fairies. Why am I talking about my body like it's a freaking piece of furniture?
I don't know, but if you're not in your actual body, and the body you are in is trying to get back to fairy with you still in it...
This is them trying to make me fulfill that bargain. All of this is just that same deal I made with them back then.
Oh boy. This might be a little bit beyond our ability to fix.
Ya think? I was so glad Spencer wasn't back yet. If he found out this was all because of him, he'd feel awful. Not to mention the complete and utter freak out. What do we do now? I'm not going to go live with a bunch of weirdo fairies under a hill. Sorry. I don't even know how old I was when that happened. 6? 7?
About 7, yeah.
Is there a way to break a bargain with a fairy? Without some horrible thing happening to me?
I think we're going to definitely need some expert help on this one. That's what I think.
Man, I suck.
Well, it is a little distressing that this tendency to get into trouble goes back that far, but I'm sure we can find a solution. And to be fair, you were trying to help your brother. Though that just means that you're both experts at getting into trouble, which is a little terrifying.
I think we're going to have to go back to our original plan and talk to the murder.
The murder? You were already thinking of going there?
I was actually planning on it a few days ago. Or at least contemplating it. But it kind of got interrupted.
You can't leave the club room right now, though.
If we go through the courtyard, it should be okay.
Guess is going to murder both of you if you try that. Just because the courtyard is far away from here physically doesn't mean it's safe. And I know the murder has some barriers around it, but that doesn't mean you'll be totally protected there.
I can't keep living with someone else in my head. Or with me being in someone else's head, especially when that someone is kind of trying to kidnap me. William stood carefully.
Nora, I'm going to go see if Gesser Velos is in the library, okay? They might be back. And I think we should talk to them.
Okay. He left quickly, leaving me alone with Allie.